All right. Today is Saturday, December 29th, 2018. Hope you guys had a good Christmas. This is what I've been working on. So, affidavit of truth, affidavit of status. This just basically says that I'm a man. I'm not an artificial person. Not going to go into this too much. I'll let you read it. So I've got 4 motions that I've been working on. And this one is basically something from a couple other websites, UR Law and High Frequency Radio and, Liquid Theory and some other stuff. But this just basically says that I am a human being. I'm not a corporation. And when you're assaulting me with all your contracts, they don't apply. So there's a bunch of stuff in here. I'll just stop it, let you read it. I don't want to be uh, harassed by any public servants. Oath takers are required by the Constitution to maintain a hands-off policy. What is not specifically granted by the Constitution, you are forbidden to do. So I got a little thing in here to all the public servants. Everybody, you work for me. I don't work for you. And then we got 1983. Here's 241. Always throw those in there. Here's 243. Deprivation of rights under color of law, which is what all this crap is. And if you think you have any authority over me, you are fired. So here's my affidavit of truth. You'll notice there's another guy out there, Sovereign Living. Glenn was pretty particular about this right here with the dash and the semicolon. This is your Christian name. This is your family name. And they all capitalize your name and they make you into a U.S. citizen and they make you into a corporation. So this basically says that this is my Christian name, this is my family name, and this makes me a fact. So yeah, I have to look into that a little bit more. But so here's some more good stuff here. Hale versus Henkel, never been overturned. Okay. I have a constitutional right as a citizen, not a U.S. citizen. I am entitled to carry on my private business in my own way. My power to contract is unlimited. Knows no duty to the state. And basically, there's a difference between a U.S. citizen and a state citizen, man. If you look at your birth certificate, you are a state citizen, man. You are not a U.S. citizen. That is a corporation, and that's how they assault you with all their contracts and invisible stuff that you didn't agree to. So here's some more. What is a contract? I never signed a contract willingly, knowingly, intelligently, voluntarily. So I revoke, cancel, and make void ab initio, which means from the beginning, my signature on any and all contracts you might think that you got. Okay, there's Brady versus U.S. Constitutional rights must be voluntarily, knowingly intelligent acts done with sufficient awareness. In other words, I didn't sign up for child support, so you can't make me conform. Okay, it goes into the social security number, the driver's license, state license plates on my cars, why I use them, tax returns, because I didn't know, the birth certificate, okay, why they give you that, marriage licenses, divorces, all that stuff. That's where they get their presumed authority, okay, is because we don't know that going to the state to get benefits, which are rights, they've turned everything into a privilege or a benefit. And that way they can just assault you. Okay. I'm not a U.S. citizen, subject to its jurisdiction. Okay. Pass voter registration. The use of the 2-letter state zip code is another way to get you into their federal jurisdiction. I didn't know that. Okay. They're immature people, mental imbalances such as the craving to dominate other people, masquerade as government, We the people are the supreme government. Just because they alter definitions to their supposed advantage doesn't mean I accept those definitions. And then there's some definitions here of a person, what male is, what a resident is, what a motor vehicle is, what driving is. There's a great guy out there, man, Old Dog, New Tricks, taking all of his rights back to travel. Okay, what income is, you don't have to pay taxes, right? It's all voluntary. Income is something else. Look up Take from Caesar or We v. Gov and listen to David Merlin. Talks about Section 83 in the Internal Revenue Code and what income is and how it's defined. We v. Gov. Take from Caesar. Real good stuff. It's pretty deep, but if you can handle it, it's pretty good. What federal jurisdiction is? Not seeing 10 Mile Squares, all the District of Columbia. Big shout out to Rick W. He just touched on this today. So United States is the District of Columbia and all the surrounding, the islands and its commonwealths and all that. They have no state jurisdiction. So, okay, what the United States is, District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, all that stuff. It's all right there. You just got to look it up. Is a foreign corporation with respect to a state. They're different than a state. Here's the definitions. Okay. You can look all that up. Read that if you want. So then we got some case laws. Okay, so this is pretty in depth. It's 15 pages of stuff. Here's American jurisprudence. Constitution. Always bring that up. And then there's revocation of power of attorney. That is not me. That is me. Okay? So I waive all your bullshit. I don't want you in my life. Get out of my life. Okay? And then I went down and had that labeled and all that. So, all right, let's see. What else are we doing here? So this is coming up January 3rd. I have a written oral argument that I'm going in with. And I'm bringing up everything. Here it is again. I'm not a U.S. citizen or a corporation. I invoke all my rights. The account number. We'll get into that later. Got some good stuff. Here's the Montana Supreme Court. Said child support's unconstitutional. I put in the exhibit, Trenzi versus Pagliaro. I'm going after the attorney because it says that attorneys for the defendant cannot testify. And unless Mr. Goff, which is the attorney, Assistant Attorney General, wants to be sworn in and swear under penalty of perjury that he has firsthand knowledge of this case, I object. And then there's another one here too, man. Manifestly, statements of counsel cannot be properly considered by us in the disposition of a case. Ha! Look at that. U.S. Supreme Court said in 77 that statements of counsel are not sufficient for a motion to dismiss. Ah, look at that. So where are the defendants? I want to talk to the defendants. I want to put them on the stand and ask them questions. And just because you sent your bar member in here and he did a motion to dismiss, okay, doesn't provide me with due process because I want to talk to these people. Here it is right here. Objection. Statements of counsel. This is Trenzi versus Pagliaro. Statements of counsel in their briefs. Okay, he did it. They didn't do it. The judge didn't do it. The commissioner didn't do it. They hired this, thug to come in here and do it. Statements of counsel in their briefs or arguments, while enlightening to the court, are not sufficient for purposes of granting a motion to dismiss or summary judgment. Boom, I got you. So you can't go in there and just dismiss the case because I don't get the chance to cross-examine the witnesses or the defendants. Okay? So then we go into Title 4D and all the crap. If you're new, you should probably look up some of these numbers. 42666, 45 CFR is, 33101. Okay, presiding officers are required to, before they put in an order, okay, they have to show a service of process. In my case, they didn't. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff. They can't serve. I was processed correctly. There's no service of affidavit of service. You cannot be done by the party to the action. She says that she did it. Utah Rules of Civil Procedure say you cannot be a party to the action. This whole thing is void. And it's been void since the beginning. So I moved the court to enter an order that they're liable to compensate me for $250,000 worth of property they seized from me. And then I put under the risk management. That's their bond. That's the Office of Risk Management, and this is what they're liable for. Okay, 2,000,004 for aggregate amounts, and 7 for one person. Okay, and it's all right there. If you look at the beginning, let me go back here. If you're new here, so in my amended complaint, I put in the original. It has the tier here. So if it's under 50,000, it's tier 1, and if it's over 50,000 to 2, or maybe it's 300,000, then it's tier 2, and then over that $1,000,000 and all that is tier 3. So they want to know how much you're basically suing for. So here's another one, Mason versus Bradley. At least 4 district courts have agreed Title 4D was intended to benefit AFDC families. Okay? Title 4D was for the recoupment of welfare and not a prerequisite for divorces. Okay? So anyway, Troxel versus Granville. Here's Washington versus Glucksburg, Flores. Here's Meyer versus Nebraska. Santosky versus Kramer. Lawrence versus Texas. Oh, here's the best one, Blessing versus Freestone. Child support does not create a right. Ha! What's a bill of attainder? Voluntary servitude. Okay. And then I go into all caps names and how they make me. Let's see, 401 says that there's no individual entitlement. So if there's no individual entitlement, how does my ex just call ORS, tell them I'm not paying her, and immediately they just start taking my property, huh? No, can't do that. Okay. So we go into real big detail, man, about everything that I'm going to bring up in court. Here's Rick W. Toomey versus Ohio. Procedures cannot deny me rights secured in the Constitution. So anything you do where I don't get the right to cross-examine or trial by jury, it's void. Abrogate means to repeal or do away. That's Miranda versus Arizona. Were rights secured by the Constitution, there could be no rulemaking or legislation which would abrogate them. Abrogate means to do away, repeal, rescind, revoke. In other words, you can't write legislation that revokes a right. Okay? And then this is part of my debt collection I got from Rick. I just put this in there just so they could see that this is what I sent them, and they ignored everything. So, state court imposed child supports are functionally equivalent to interstate contracts. Okay? Where's the contract? We don't have it. So I put in, just cut and pasted about half of my debt validation letter, which they ignored. Here's some stuff about the Internal Revenue Service and how they are fraudulently stealing money from the feds. You can read all that if you want. Okay, here's a great one here, man. This is taken from 15 U.S.C. Chapter 1, Section 17. The labor of a human is not a commodity or article of commerce. Okay? In other words, they don't have jurisdiction over it. Okay? Here's some more stuff you should read. Okay? Just stop it. Okay? Oh, that's wrong. Damn it. That should be 94. Oh, well. Okay, look at this. Did you guys know this? Social Security Act does not require a person to have a Social Security number? What? To live and work in the United States, nor does it require a Social Security number simply for the purposes of having one. If someone works without a Social Security number, we cannot properly credit the earning for the work performed. In other words, we can't report you to the IRS, and that's from the Social Security Administration. You know it's not yours, right? It's their card. It's not yours. So anyway, this is what's going on. Then it talks about the administrative state and how these guys are running everything now. And you can't do that. So, and then I put in a proposed order. I wrote this cause of action having coming before the court. Having heard the arguments, and it is ordered and adjudged, plaintiff was not properly served. Pursuant to 60B, set aside the judgment. Okay, insufficiency of process. So you should, again, you should look up your Utah Rules of Civil Procedure. So this is getting kind of long, so we're going to go to the next one here. I already did that one. So this is another one. This is a motion opposing bias and the appearance of fraud. So talks about what it is, what is the fraud on the court, what does effects have on fraud of the court. Okay, so basically, if a third party was to be sitting in the courtroom and they looked and they saw everything that happened, okay, here's disqualification of judges and why and who. You can stop that and read that. Basically, if a third party looks at it and it doesn't have the appearance of partiality, okay, then, and for any reason, a third party might be sitting in that courtroom and say, you know what, this doesn't seem right, then that would be the appearance of bias, okay? If you've got somebody that doesn't have any knowledge of the situation and they're sitting there going, what the hell? Man, they can't do that to him, right? So anyway, this is another one that I just put in there because I wanted to make sure that I put in a motion opposing bias and the appearance of fraud. Because if I go in there and say, you know what, it appears that you're all ganging up on me and you're in contract to, steal my money, then I might be something that I want to bring up. So here's another motion opposing the jurisdiction and clarification of jurisdiction, because I want to know what jurisdiction we're in, okay? And I want somebody to admit jurisdiction. So we have common law, okay? And we have equity law, which compels performance, okay? The letter of any contract. So common law is God's law. Anytime someone is charged, there must be a damaged party, okay? We all know that there's no injured party, so it's not common law, okay? Because it's all about the money, right? So it should be an equity, right? Well, it's not an equity because there's no contract, okay? I am being compelled to perform under the obligation of the contract. Well, there is no contract, so how are you sending me to jail and stealing my money? So this one is compelled performance, okay? But this only applies to international contracts. So if you have an international contract, show me. If you don't, you're outside your jurisdiction, okay? So I asked him a question. Did this court take international law and adopt it to Utah code? Okay. And then we go into statutory jurisdiction, which is basically where you're at. They don't call it admiralty, they call it statutory. And I happen to know because they said I broke a statute by having $10 worth of heroin in my pocket one day, and they sent me to prison for it with no injured party and no nothing. So here's something on voluntary contracts. Here's the Uniform Commercial Code. Okay, a little bit more about contracts, how we have no remedy. Okay. And here's something about the Uniform Commercial Code that we talked about up here. Okay, which is really confusing, but it's right in the beginning. Okay. But after many hours, the first volume, I found it. It's under 1308. Okay. The making of a simple, valid reservation of rights preserves whatever rights this man, not person, okay, possesses, and prevents the loss of any rights by application of concepts of waiver or estoppel. So basically, estoppel is there's no contract, you have to stop. Okay, that's basically what that means. So it's a little bit more confusing, but basically estoppel is you have to cease and desist. Okay. So there you go. You can read all that. So, for the record, right? Nothing I didn't enter into knowingly, voluntarily, intentionally. Remember the other one? Okay. So I can't be compelled to live up to something I didn't agree to. Okay. So I put in some information here. So is there an affidavit or a complaint? No. There's a defect. There's no affidavit. There's no damaged party. It's a defect. Okay. Misinformation, false testimony before a judge. There's a defect. Okay. If there's a debt, is ORS the original party? No, they're not. Okay. This gets into kind of depth, man, about the assignment of chain of assignments and stuff. This is from UR Law, so I just cut and pasted this in here because these are defects. Okay. If it's not recorded with the county recorder's office and it's not dated, then it's defective. Okay. So that's what's going on in the life of Doug. You guys got any questions? Let me know. Let's see. Did I go through all 4 of them? Let's see. This is, what is this here? This is my, yes, I went through this one here. This is my affidavit of service. Oh, this is my written proposal. Okay. And then this should be my affidavit of truth. Okay. So, yep, I went through that. All right. And then this is my bias. Okay. Well, that's it, man. January 3rd, I go to court, and I'm going to mob on these fools. You'll notice everything's done by motion. Everything's a motion, so they shouldn't have any problems. See, motion in the court, affidavit, motion to add written moral. This is a motion opposing, motion opposing. Okay? Good luck. Peace to the gods. And big shout out to Rick and Amin again. You guys, I'll let you know what's going on. January 3rd, I go in and for my oral argument, and we'll see if he dismisses it or, yeah, I'll let you know. All right, peace.